Hey guys, it's Coach Brent with Kicking World. We're going to get Jason Sanders, NFL kicker, Miami Dolphins, live with us here on this chat. Let's bring Jason. All right, hey Jason.
Thumbs up.
All right, so we got NFL kicker Jason Sanders right here. Jason, we're just going to get right into this. And first off, thanks for freeing up your quarantine time to talk to all the younger kickers out there, who are really inspired by you and looking to follow in your footsteps. All right, so to start it off, with the 229th pick in the 7th round of the 2018 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Jason Sanders, kicker, New Mexico. Tell us about that life-changing day, Jason.
2 years ago, I was able to fulfill a lifelong kicking dream of playing in the NFL. And to me, that didn't start that day. It started probably at least 6 or 7 years before that, where we started kicking. I think it was before my junior year. I think it was sophomore year of high school.
Yeah, probably was, yeah.
And, I mean, that's where a lot of people, I think, get it misunderstood, is that I didn't just buy a ticket in the NFL that one day. It started at least my sophomore year of high school. But, to be able to go get drafted in the NFL and then have 2 more years under your belt, it's an amazing feeling right now.
Absolutely. I mean, me and Coach Jesse, we were watching that live. We had just finished the Dallas camp. I remember I think it was, April 30th or something like that. It was like the last weekend of April. And we rushed back to the hotel and we caught it, and we're just waiting, 5th round, 6th round. I was talking to you on FaceTime, to Gil, your agent, and it was just, I was probably as stressed as you and your family were, talking to Carol, who was a big advocate for you, getting you set up with your first lessons with me back when I lived in California. And it was just, it was amazing to see it finally come together. We knew all along, you had something special with your leg. We couldn't say immediately that you were going to be an NFL kicker, but I would say for me, your sophomore going into your junior year of college is when I realized that it was legit and it was probably going to happen. So
I think that's what's so hard about the position too. That's what's
hard
about it too, that there's only 32 positions in the league.
Exactly.
There's not only 32 kickers that are good enough. There's about, I would say, maybe 100 guys a year that are good enough to maybe play in the NFL.
And how many teams actually have a vacancy at any given year, right? 3 or 4 or 5 maybe in a season.
Just because some team's kicker had a bad year, and that doesn't mean they want to get rid of him. They know who he is. They know what kind of kicker he is.
Exactly.
That's how hard it is, I think, in my opinion.
100%. So I got about a dozen questions, but we'll try to do it impromptu and not just drill it off like it's a interrogation here. But so I'm gonna throw a couple at you that are from me, and then we got a list of the Instagram handle of each student that asked the question over the last few months. We got some really good ones. So if you don't mind, let's get this party started here. So one of my first questions to you is, what is your favorite kicking drill?
It's probably, and it's the line drill, but about the line drill too is that it's something that I do almost every time I kick. I mean, I don't just go out and kick and just kick footballs just to kick footballs. There's multiple days where I go out just to do the line drill and I don't even kick. I think the line drill is probably one of the most important drills a kicker can do. And if you can master the line drill and you can master having that proper foot angle, then you can be a really good kicker.
100%. I mean, over the last couple of weeks, tell the guys or the parents, students, and coaches listening, what was that one big thing that we worked, and how even NFL guys, you get rusty from not kicking for a few months. What was the big thing besides the line drill that you started talking about that we had to get you back to normal on?
Just everything. I mean, anytime we start up again, it's always going to be a little rusty. We're always going to have to fix certain things. But me in particular, I have a hard time keeping my proper foot angle through the ball. I have a hard time preserving my ankle, trying to keep it locked out through the ball instead of hitting the ball and then coming off to the left, So, and that's something I struggle with still. I mean, it's a hard drill, and for all the kickers out there that are struggling with that particular drill, even the pros struggle.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, if you look at golfers, right, you obviously got a Callaway hat on. You and I both love playing golf in the off season. It's probably besides fishing, it's one of our favorite things we like to do mutually. And I played golf with Jason a few times, and we talk about it often. It's like people think, a lot of rookies out there think, okay, I've made it. I'm a D1 kicker now, so now the work stops. That's not right at all. You fundamentally, that is the whole key to being the best you possibly can, whether you're a pro golfer, a baseball, a quarterback. I was watching, you ever see Peyton Manning's show on ESPN? It's a pretty funny TV show, but he was talking about when Coach Dungy was his coach. Coach Dungy would always be watching. He didn't know if he was watching or not, but he would film the video of a drill and talk about it. And Peyton was commenting how he felt he got his best because the coaches were reminding him of the micro aspects, the fundamentals. Don't overlook the fundamentals. And like you just alluded to, the foot angle, we talk a lot on our Instagram videos, right? And the line drill, keeping that foot again keeping it preserved through the whole kick. I couldn't agree more. It's so key. Okay, cool. So we actually covered the first two questions in one. That worked out good. So you were supposed to come out a couple weeks ago, like you do. You make your semi-annual pilgrimage out to Austin, Texas, Kicking World HQ, if you will, right? Before all this stuff happened, with the coronavirus and whatnot, we were set to train for about 4 or 5 days. So what have you been doing this off season now that you're sort of cooped up inside from, instructionally, or to try to keep yourself fresh? Has there been anything you've been able to do, resources for training or teaching with me while you've been sort of stuck inside?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty fortunate to have a home gym at my parents' house. So I'm still getting after it. I'm still getting my kicks in. But when I do get my kicks in, I don't just kick either. I film myself. I watch every single kick. Spend maybe an hour and a half out there sometimes. But when I'm filming myself, what Brent's done a good job too is he analyzes each film I send him. I mean, I think it's easy to, watch one or two, but he'll watch 3 or 4, as many as I send him. So I think not being able to go to Austin, there's ways around it. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of our training.
Yeah.
We're still going to get after it every day. And you've helped me every step of the way too. I mean, every video I send you, even yesterday in my backyard, I couldn't go out because it was going to rain. So I got a couple of kicks in my backyard and we took a look at it.
No, and that's the thing. And I appreciate that, letting the kids know publicly. That means a lot to me because obviously I put a lot of time, heart, and effort in helping you get to where you are. And I'm just one person on the journey, right? There's all sorts of people that have helped you. Gil, your agent, your parents, your girlfriend, your high school coaches, Coach Ansich, your college coaches, Coach Davey, and everyone. So, but it definitely means a lot to hear that. So, virtual lessons and training from afar, right? This is a cool thing to talk about briefly. Like you had just echoed that even though you're not here, which stinks, it would be obviously a lot better to be in person. But one thing I've been doing with a lot of these students, especially my regulars, they're sending me videos, or like we did the other day, as long as you have a decent internet connection, you could go FaceTime and like real time, like we're doing here, or Instagram, and just watch, hey, Jason, kick a few. Like, how crazy was that the other day when we did the test Instagram run? You set up at the pole, and we're like, okay, let's get started. Jason's going to warm up a few. And he hits it on the first try. That was just ridiculous. So, but all right. So let's see here. Let's switch it up. Instead of me talking and asking all the questions, let's ask a question from one of the students here. So our first question, I'm going to mark them off as I ask them here. From Hutch is Clutch 37. Do y'all still miss-hit kicks in practice? I often wonder if the pros hit a crappy ball on occasion.
I'd say yeah, but I would also say that a pro's mishits are different than a high school mishit. I think a high school mishit can be rather bad, but a pro mishit, I think, is missing by feet maybe. You know, if we're aiming down the middle of the upright and we're missing the field goal post by a couple feet to the right, I think that's considered a miss hit. Obviously, it didn't go in. But I would say everybody miss hits. It's just the level of miss hits decreases as you get better. I guess you can say that.
Do you have any sort of miss hit that drives you nuts, or you like less than, or one that you like more? Like, oh, I missed the field goal, but it felt good. Or like, what's a good miss hit, and what's like one that drives you nuts?
The one that drives me nuts is the one that feels great coming off your foot, and it's got that slight draw on it. So it feels like a perfect hit, but then you look up and now it's peeling left, right? I think that's the worst kick in football, is because it felt great coming off your foot.
Yeah,
Expect it
right.
to go down the middle.
But like a good golfer, right? They're like, if you ever watched after the game, they're like, just a couple putts didn't go in. They felt, I rolled them right. I aimed them at the target. They're happy if it goes to where they intend, right? If you make clean contact, you can't control everything, but if you make a good hit.
Even when we kick at the pole like we did the other day, I think it's a little bit of luck to hit the pole too. I can count how many good hits I have and how many times it skims by the pole, but if we're talking about hitting the pole, I think it takes a little bit of luck.
Absolutely. When you do that drill a lot in Villa Park, your old high school, Villa Park High School, say you kicked 10 of those in a row from 40-ish yards, how many do you think on average you would hit that pole?
10 of them?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe twice.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
What's that?
I mean, there's some days I can hit it a lot of times, and there's some days I walk out hitting it 0 times. I mean,
and what about when you hit a perfect ball where we get laces, ball? If I gave you 20 extra point field goals just practicing, how many do you think would actually have 0 side spin?
I think a lot.
Yeah, you could get a lot.
Yeah.
It's tricky. A lot of people think they can, but when you actually, when you do the slow-mo, I found when I watch you or NFL guys, maybe 2, 3, 4 out of 10, but high school kids, when they do it, it's actually sort of a shocker, because you have to get the ball, your foot, your back, everything has to, the swing pass. So there's a lot of intricacies, and I think a lot of parents and students think, okay, my son played soccer, or my daughter played soccer, we're just going to make him a kicker, right? Or he could, stand, and he's just going to be deemed a kicker. They don't understand that there's a lot of athleticism, balance, timing, and coordination that comes into being, an elite level kicker like you are. So,
well, maybe next time we go live, we can go see how many times we hit the pole in 10 kicks.
We'll do it. So it stinks. It's still raining out by you, I guess, huh? It looks like it's pretty.
What you guys will know is I'll be 20 yards from the pole, but you think I'm about 40, 45. But no, it's still raining right now. I was thinking about going outside maybe when we're done.
Yeah.
When we're done, I might go out. So we'll see.
We'll see how it goes. I know you like to warm up before you do anything. All right, let's see here. How about another question from one of the guys on the channel? So, Will Dowd 71 asked, "How do you handle missing a kick in a game?"
Well, in a game, you can't let it get you. I mean, chances are you're going to have another kick. And if you really want to make that next kick, the first thing you got to do is forget about the one you missed. No matter what level you're at, you know that you're there for a reason. You know you're capable of kicking field goals. You know you're capable of making kicks. I think that's one of the biggest things, too, is understanding that you're there for a reason, So me in the NFL, when I miss a kick, chances are I'm going back out there because in the NFL we kick a lot of kicks. But if I didn't forget about that missed kick, I have something else in my head, and that's taken away from the next kick. So I think focusing and staying confident, even if you miss, is probably the biggest thing about kicking field goals in general. Is just staying confident.
That makes sense. Tell us a little bit about your soccer background. Jonas Broford 4 asked, do you have any soccer background?
Yeah, I played soccer till I was probably about 18. When I turned 18, I got that scholarship to New Mexico, and that's when the soccer days were over. But I played since very young kid. I got 3 older brothers that played soccer, so I grew up in a family that all played soccer.
How about your bros, talking about them? Talk about their line of work and what they're doing for our country.
I got 2 brothers currently serving in the Air Force. I got another brother that still lives in Orange County with us. And one of them is stationed overseas, and one of them is stationed in New Mexico. So once I graduated from Mexico, he got restationed in Albuquerque, which is kind of cool.
And that's Andrew. So do you think he has any chance to possibly play somewhere? Right? You sent me video the other day. It looked pretty good.
Yeah, that was today, actually.
That was today.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's tough, but I think he was definitely a better kicker than I was in high school. I think he still has a stronger leg than I do.
Well, he played varsity, for a year or two, kicker, and then you played right after him? Or?
I think he did it. I think he was varsity for 2 years. I think he started his junior year.
And then you started, sophomore or junior?
Yeah,
I think you played 1 year.
He kicked his junior year. They liked him a lot, and so they asked me to do it for the freshman team. I think the junior year was his first year.
Got it. That's pretty cool. I mean, you don't see that too often, 2 brothers. Yeah. All right, here's a good one. Jared Silver 12 asks, how long do you kick each day? Let's specify that. Let's say in season, and then how about out of season, like in April through July or something?
April through July. I don't know exactly how many balls, but there's certain sessions where I'll be out there for a long time, and there's certain sessions where I'm barely out there. I think it's more quality over quantity. I mean, I don't see a need for a kicker to go out there and hit 30, 50 balls if they're all bad. If you're having a bad day, it's okay to have a bad day. Stop kicking, and work on some fundamentals and drills. But probably 30 to 40 maybe. In season, I kick, I warm up, and then I'll finish with the team, and that's probably about 20, maybe 20 live kicks.
And how many? You're not counting. Obviously, you do a lot of the drills in addition to the real full kicks, right?
Correct. When I say 20, 30, or 40, that's full kicks. 3 sets back, 2 over full kicks.
Yeah, and for people watching, it's important to know the drills. I mean, in a way, they're even more important than your real kicks. And if you do a lot of the standing place ones, like the foot to ball, where you just set up a ball and hit into it, that doesn't take too much out of your leg. And I typically recommend high school kids, college kids, they do at least 50 of those a day when they practice. So maybe like 5 sets of 10, but I'd be willing to guess that you do a lot more than 50 probably on some days, right? Foot to ball stuff.
Yeah. Every day I'm not kicking, I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
Just stuff that you can do without having to put stress on your body when you're having a day off. But my actual warm up starts with foot to ball, and I'll do some swings. But when I'm actually hitting the ball, I'll do about 10 of the line drill, at least 10, sometimes more, depending on how good or bad it is. And then I'll go into those 2-step 45-degree over kicks.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll go into my full 3 steps.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then when you kick your full kicks, you don't just go bash them down the middle every time, right? Aren't you trying different angles through the uprights and stuff?
Yeah.
Hit the upright.
And that's part of the reason I go to that pole too at the park. Yeah, there's if you have a pull to kick it, I think it's good to change it up every once in a while. If you're aiming smaller, you're going to miss smaller. So when you go out to a field goal post that next day or the day after, it's going to feel like it's wide. It's going to feel pretty easy.
Absolutely. No, this is great. This is going awesome. Here's a random one, not totally about kicking, but 954 kicker. Isn't that 954? Isn't that the area code for Fort Lauderdale, Davie? I think.
No, that's 305.
Oh, okay. Well, it's South Florida somewhere. Is the food at the Dolphins facility good? What kind of food and drinks do they have for you guys?
Yeah, that's good. There's a great staff there that prepares breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So they do a great job. And then for drinks, there's Gatorade, water, and some sparkling water that is always available, and Propel. So there's about 3 or 4 refrigerators throughout the facility.
I like Propel. I mean, it's not much calories. It's just basically water, a little flavor, right? It's pretty tasty.
Yeah, and when you're drinking water all day, it might sound good.
Yeah, it's a nice, especially when it's hot. So when you first, just a random question I didn't have prepared. When you first got to Davie, which is the headquarters of the Dolphins facility, and obviously you play at Hard Rock in Miami. But when you first settled down the first couple of weeks during the summer, when you finally moved there and everything, what was your take on the heat and the humidity, and how long did it take you to sort of get acclimated from perfect Southern California weather?
I think it's a different animal. I think getting used to getting wet every day just from sweating, I think took a couple weeks. But once you get used to it, get used to the humid, get used to the heat, I mean, you're fine with it. You learn to deal with it. Just because it's humid doesn't mean I'm not going to kick, So just getting used to it. That's about it. I mean, it took maybe a couple weeks to a month.
That's good, yeah. I know sometimes in Texas here in Austin, it could get pretty rough in Central Texas. We have a camp in June every year on Father's Day weekend. And like it could be 85 the week before, but like clockwork for the last 10 plus years, it's 100 to 110 at this camp every single year. The kids love it, but it's a long weekend.
Training camp in Florida is something I've never experienced before with the heat.
Your underwear is soaked before you
go
get
through
out
about 4 shirts a day.
Oh,
when you wake up in the morning and walk from your car to the facility and your shirt's already sweating.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Here's 2 other good questions I just thought about before we go back to the kids' questions. And we only have a few more here, but cleats. Everyone always asks about cleats, right? That's a big question. We have a blog about it. If people search on the Kicking World blog, what are the best kicking cleats? But tell us about your cleats and any sort of cool things or unique things you do to prep them and whatnot.
Well, I'm currently looking at about 15 cleats. I can show you. I'll just grab a bunch. Give me a sec.
All right.
So to begin, this is the Tiempo 5. They don't make these anymore. It's probably the best cleat they've ever made. And it was my favorite, right? And now I'm stuck in a position where I have to find a new cleat because picking these up off eBay and trying to find them in different stores, it doesn't work anymore. So the newer versions of cleats, here's the newest Tiempo, which I'm not a very big fan of. I like the way it looks, but to me, it's all about feel on the foot.
That waffle texture, I feel like you don't get as clean as a hit as like the simpler ones. It's just weird on the toe box and stuff.
I don't know what it is about it. I mean, it's not a bad cleat. It's just I'd never have good sessions with it. And that's part of my my evaluation of the cleat. But the ones that I've newly discovered is the Nike Premier, which is still being made, which is good.
Yeah.
And so what I've been kicking with is this lately. And something I do with my cleats is I'll shave off not completely, but I'll shave down the front four.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can see it's a little bit tighter to the cleat, so that helps with not catching the ground, right?
So this one right here is the most shaved, and then it goes on progressively, shortest to longest. And one way I suggest doing that, well, first of all, I don't suggest it unless you need it, right? I get a lot of ground, so I tend to get cleaner balls when I shave my cleats.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I get a new pair of cleats and I never tried, I'll keep the studs on for at least 2 sessions and see how I like it, and then I'll shave it accordingly. But if you do plan on shaving your cleats, all you need is cement. Put the cleat on and try to. Let's see if I can demonstrate this. So you're gonna put the cleat on, and then you just want to hit the ground, right? Right. You want to take normal swings. You want to take normal swings like you're actually kicking a football, so you're not shaving off too much of what you don't use, right? So I mean, you only want to shave off what's bothering you.
That makes sense. Do you have that one you've been using lately that you custom painted to show the kids where on the foot that you strike it?
Yeah. So I got this one, which is a Nike Premier. So the problem with it is it's on the red part right here, which it's a good problem because it knows. I mean, I know I'm hitting the ball properly.
Yeah, you could see that you're making the right contact. That's huge. Hitting.
But I'd say my 2 favorite cleats is right now is the Nike Premier and the Tempo 7
I think, or 7. Oh, that's the one before 7, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
So
that's what you wore last season, right? The turquoise and white.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we got 5 more questions. It looks like. What would you say are your top 3 favorite stadiums that you ever kicked in, whether it's college, NFL, whatever?
Well, maybe I'm biased, but I would say Hard Rock, Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
I think they have a really good stadium. It's I think one of the best throughout
Definitely.
all the 2 years I played, all the different stadiums I've seen. But in college, Texas A&M, I think that was a special place. I mean, I don't think it was like beautiful, whatnot, but it was a high stadium, great atmosphere. They had traditions. I think traditions play a big factor in that of the favorites of stadiums.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas was sweet.
Yeah.
Green Bay.
Yeah. When you played Green Bay, was it a cold time of the year or?
It was about 30 degrees.
Not too bad.
Not terrible, yeah. I think anything below 30 is cold for a football game. I think if you're playing in 40-degree weather in December, I think that's a steal in some places.
Yeah. What? In Minnesota, they got a dome. That's a pretty nice. Did you play there, right?
I played there my rookie year.
That's
an
a
awesome
pretty cool
place.
one. But
Atlanta's a sweet place.
Yeah, I went to the A&M game, and I think to this day, I feel like you had like some supernatural pop on the ball. Your kickoffs were the best I've ever seen all of your years of college. But
everything was timed up perfectly. I remember that too.
And you get amped up when you got a vibe like that. Every year, I think it was ESPN or Bleacher Report, like the top 5 loudest stadiums, and like every year that's like the most energetic fan base, the Aggies for A&M.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool place.
It would have been cool if you played versus Texas during your career, but one of your times out here, we got to kick in there. That was pretty cool. So yeah, that's a nice stadium as well.
Well, Wareham's not there anymore, right? He's in New Mexico now.
Yeah, he's back at New Mexico. And New Mexico is a great stadium in itself. I mean, it's just not as...
It's clean.
It's not like as big as some of them, but that's a beautiful place. Albuquerque. Did you ever see those balloon things when you were there?
I went to the Balloon Fiesta once out of my 4 years there.
It looks pretty cool from what I was researching. I don't think I'd ever go up on one of those. What about skydiving? Have you ever done that? Or
No,
would
I
you
don't. I
ever?
don't. I don't plan on it either. Uh,
You got too good of a contract coming up pretty soon to risk
yeah,
that. All
I
right,
mean,
so
just risk your life in general. I mean, is it
yeah,
worth it?
I don't know. I never understand. I've done some crazy stuff, but I think skydiving sounds a little too much for me. Um,
I'm not even gonna go snowboard. We're talking about skydiving.
yeah, I like to snowboard. Honestly, I think those are the best questions. Let's see if there's 24 questions. Let's try to pick a winner here. Um, let's
Let's hit
see
them all.
here. Who was your favorite kicker growing up?
I remember watching a lot of Adam and Terry. But growing up, I don't. I mean, when I was a young kid, I didn't really have a favorite kicker. I was still caught up in soccer. I was always playing soccer. Um, and football wasn't really an option or an idea in my head until my freshman year of high school. But
That makes sense.
from then, I mean, maybe Josh Scooby was up there. I remember watching him a couple times for the Jaguars. Yeah, maybe Adam
No,
and
that's
Terry. Yeah.
yeah, that's who I liked, Adam Vinatieri. I think he's going to definitely go down to date at least as the most clutch kicker. I mean, he won basically 2 Super Bowls or contributed significantly for the Pats. I mean, this might be his last year with the Colts. He's sort of, I think is he almost like 50 years or he's in his
No,
early 40s at
he's
least,
40. He's 40
40
something.
something, 43. But I mean, that's unprecedented. You don't see that. Like that's like how Brett Favre played forever too. But if you take care of your body and sleep well, eat right, work out, that brings us to one of the last things I had here. What in the gym? Do you have any certain things that you like? I know. Aren't you sitting in your house gym right there?
Yeah. Take a
What's
look.
like? What's something that you like to do that you feel maybe a top 1 or 2 exercises at the facility or whatever?
Um, anything would be any kind of hip mobility. So keeping your hips right. A lot of people know the frog stretch. I'd say that's
What's
probably one of the
what's
most
that
important
one? What
ones.
do you mean by that? Like pushing your knees out and squatting?
So you're gonna lay down and have your knees hitting the ground, kind of like that.
Uh huh.
You look it up. It's called the frog stretch.
Okay.
Um, and then there's another one I like to do on the bench where. All right, I'll give you a little tutorial. So it's more of it's getting up in here too, in your psoas too. So it's more getting keeping your knee at a 90-degree angle, and it'll get you through here on the opposite leg too, and even on your other leg too when you're doing it. Then you just switch it up. But I would say those two are my favorite. Any kind of hip circle, I'll do any kind of hip circle. I think hip circles are pretty important. And then just stretching in general. I would say I stretch maybe almost every day.
Really?
Yeah.
How long for each time you stretch?
It varies. Maybe a minimum of 20 minutes. And what I've also been doing lately is probably getting about 20, 30 minutes of hip work before I even leave the house to go kick.
Hmm. That's good. Yeah. Do you ever do like if it's a cooler game or practice? Do you ever do like a heating pack or anything on your legs? Or
No.
no?
There's a hot tub and a cold tub too. I mean, that works out pretty well. There's an infrared sauna. One of the things I consistently do is roll out. I'll roll out
Foam
before I
roller?
kick. Yeah. Consistently before I kick, I'll do that.
what parts do you like to roll specifically when you do that? Like your butt and hamstring
Everything.
or quad?
I'll get everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll start on the glute, work my way down the hamstring to the calves, and then get my back, and then I'll turn over, do my hips, quads, inner, growing area. So I'll do it all. And let's say that's the most important thing I do is making sure my hips are in shape.
So before you kick, make sure you stretch, and some point during the day, you know, try to get in once or twice at least to stretch. I tell a lot of the students, you know, at camps and whatnot and lessons, we recommend stretching at least 5 times a day for 8 to 10 minutes each time. You know, if you're waking up in the morning, you take a shower, that's a good time to do a couple stretches when you're in the hot water.
5 times a day?
What's that?
5 times a day?
5, yeah, if you can, 8 minutes. I mean, it's a lot, but the thing is, when you're talking with teenagers, you tell them 5 times and they're going to do it 2 times. So you got to give it to them more. So how's the weather out there? Is there any way to do a couple foot to balls, or is that probably taxing you too much for you didn't warm up or anything, right?
I mean, I could do, but I'd get wet for sure.
We'll do it the next session. We'll do that. Hit the pole 10 times and see how many times you could hit it.
Yeah. Well, maybe next time we go kick, we can go back on and talk about it.
Yeah, no, that sounds good, man. Hey, I appreciate you doing it. You did a great job. I think it went really nice. It was probably good for you not to have a reporter trying to trick you into saying the crazy, you know, wrong stuff like what's going on right now with all the questions every day with our country. They always try to trick people, but hopefully you guys got a lot out of it today. So make sure you follow Jason Sanders on Instagram, on Twitter, and you know, tell him thank you for joining us, and thank you, you know, for sticking with me from day one, almost 9 years since your sophomore year of high school. So, all right.
I appreciate you, Brent.
Yeah, man. Well, have a good one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care, guys.
Appreciate it.
Kickingworld.com. Check out his profile at kickingworld.com. Hot prospect.